Quinty, I want to speak to you about something before we leave for university.
Oh, I'm packing. What could be so important? Oh no, not one of those talks again. Ma, I heard it before. Stranger danger, drug abuse, and even COVID-19.
No, it's not one of those talks. I want to speak to you about self-directed learning and taking ownership for your own teaching and learning.
Self-directed. Nah, Ma, I think this will help me with university. I found this on Google. It's called the UARI window. And I think this will be quite useful. You know, there are those 4 windows, and here we have the arena, and that is what we both know about me. And we both know I passed matric, and I'm going to study teaching. But then with the facade, it started me thinking, because this is what you don't know about me, but what I know. And you know, Ma, I'm a bit nervous about university because I don't know anyone, and maybe they won't like me. And then there are these 2 other windows, the blind spot and the unknown, but they really don't make sense. So I think I'm just going to ignore them, and then I'll just focus on those 2. What do you think?
Is that what you do when you don't understand what you read on Google? That brings me back to the discussion I want to have with you about taking ownership of your own teaching and learning. But let me start with a few facts, or did you know facts? You know, the former CEO of Google already in 2010 said that every day we create twice as much information as from the dawn of civilization until 2003. Many years ago, education was considered to be a preparation for life. In the late 1940s, a person could expect to graduate from school with 75% of the knowledge needed to stay employed until retirement. 50 years later, that figure dropped to 2%. 463 exabytes of information or data will be created every day by humans by the time we get to 2025.
That I know. 1024 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. And 1024 megabytes is 1 gigabyte. And 1024 gigabytes...
Stop it. You really sound like a parrot, but do you actually understand what you're saying?
Of course, I had to memorize it for a test.
Memorizing is not understanding.
But what does that have to do with self-directed learning?
Quite a lot. But let's see. How would you define self-directed learning?
Okay, so I think it's got to do with taking responsibility for your own learning and teaching yourself.
Correct, we're getting somewhere. You know, teachers and lecturers are not sages on stages anymore, but they're actually guides on the side.
But why is it so important that we have to discuss this now before I go to university? I need to pack.
The answer, my child, is change. The massive escalating proliferation of information and technology. The ability to learn on our own is crucial in a world that keeps on changing and producing new information. You're not going to have a mentor to follow you through life, to show to you this information you need to know and also where to get that. You will have to take responsibility for your own teaching and learning.
Okay, so what do I need to do to become more self-directed?
You need to change from following instructions to really carrying out self-directed learning activities.
Does that mean I can ignore my lecturers next year?
No, but you shouldn't be a robot. You should change from memorizing and repeating to actually discovering, from listening to communicating, from knowledge of facts to really understanding processes. Then also from theory to applying the theory. And then also change from being teacher-dependent to being independent.
Yo, that's a mouthful. I still don't get it.
Okay, let's go back to what does the profile of a self-directed student look like? Such a student takes initiative, is comfortable with independence, accepts responsibility, is persistent, and actually sees problems as challenges and not obstacles. And best of all, enjoys learning.
Oh, that's not what we did at school, Ma.
Exactly. The reasons are, many learners, they're not motivated because they don't see the value in self-directed learning. They see the end goal of teaching in scorecards and evaluation. And however important these are, the processes should also be valued. So students should actually change from, learning just to reproduce to lifelong learning and to actually apply the knowledge in their lives.
Okay, that makes sense, but I still have to pass university, and it's still a few years before I'll become a teacher.
The 4 years will be over before you know it. Expertise has a much shorter shelf life now. For example, it used to be like only certain jobs, let's say computer analysts and IT troubleshooters, they needed to do upskilling and training. But now everybody needs to gain new knowledge and tools. Do you remember last year when you were in grade 12, how you had to adapt, not just you, your teachers as well, to the online learning mode during the pandemic?
Okay, so does that mean only I have to change for university?
No, my child. Your lecturers will have a huge responsibility to prepare you for a future that we can't even predict.
No, I don't understand that.
Yes, they will prepare you for jobs that do not even exist. Say, for example, someone graduates as an engineer. The time in which half of what an engineer knows becomes obsolete is now between 2 to 8 years. And just think of it, an engineering career actually spans over 40 years. So that means, or it will imply, that engineering is lifelong learning.
Luckily, I'm going to education. I'm going to become a teacher.
The same applies to teaching and education. Let's see, how many times has the curriculum changed since 2000? Remember, maybe you won't remember, but yes, we first had OBE, and then we had the revised national curriculum statement, and now teachers have to work with the CAPS. So if we follow that same pattern, your teaching career will be more or less 40 years. So if we follow that same pattern, that will imply that you will have to adapt and change your teaching 6 times in your career.
That sounds a bit scary, but also quite exciting, actually.
Yes. So, tell me, which tools will you be packing to take with you to the Northwest University?
I get it. Let me show you here on the URI window. Now I get those other 2 windows. So that means if I am self-directed, I am going to figure out what I don't know, and I'm going to learn strategies to get the answers to that. And even though my lecturers and my friends don't know me yet, we can collaborate and get to know one another, and in that process I'm going to learn even things that don't exist yet. Thanks, Ma.